Konnichiwa. Hello, welcome to our weekly topical game discussion show. We're going to be talking about some free stuff this week, so hopefully a lot of people will be able to try this out. We're going to be talking about six free VR short films which we feel are worth you checking out. This is going to be PC only because a lot of this stuff, I'm pretty sure that I think there's maybe a couple that are on the PSVR, but most of it's just on the PC only. But we'll mention the one. I think there's one that's on PSVR as well, so we'll mention that. As always, if you don't want to listen to us ramble for as long as we are going to ramble for, check the description. There will be a full list of everything we're going to talk about, including timestamps, just to save you obviously having to listen to us talk. Yeah, so we'll get straight into it. Let's start with Roots. What's your first game? That's a short film, should I say, that you recommend people watch?
I was going to start with game or I guess experience called Rapid Fire. Is it Rapid Fire? I don't know what the hell the damn thing.
A brief
Yes, thank you. My notes.
A brief history of
My
life.
notes were not there. Yeah, so this is actually an Oculus exclusive. Studio is Transcendent, and it was released way back in November of 2016. Now, this thing is actually really cool. The first time I went into it, it actually really impressed me. It's like it says, it's a brief history of the history of flight. And so they start with the Wright brothers, and they show you all the different steps, and goes through quite a bit. And it just it was just really engaged me, and the sense of scale was amazing. And some of these planes go right by you or go right over your head. Gives you a really great feeling of being there, and a good, great history. Just makes you feel really, really good about it. Now, Alex, I know you tried this one. What'd you think of this one?
Yeah, this is one that I'd never actually heard of until you recommended. So I I tried it out immediately that night, and yeah, it's pretty cool actually. It's not very long; it's about 5 minutes long, but it goes through the history of flight. It like goes from the first right, is it the
The Wright brothers.
the name of the
Hmm.
yeah the Wright brothers plane shows them, and then shows how flight evolved, and there's some really cool. I won't spoil everything that happens, but there's some really cool scenes in there. And then right at the end, there's this massive plane that flies over you, and it really gave me the chills. It just made me feel really vulnerable because you kind of just stood in the middle of the runway, and these planes are flying past you and flying over you, and okay.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it's something that I've actually gone into probably over the last year 6, 7 times, and sat through it again, just because it was so cool. Now, one thing that I don't know if they meant to do it, but it sounds like the narrator is trying to sound like Matthew McConaughey. It actually does a fairly good job of it, or maybe that's just his voice, but it was I would recommend this. And now, like I said, it's Oculus exclusive, but like right here you have all those it talks about like all the different planes. All these planes are showing over here, and then it says, these are all the planes that went down in such and such battle during World War II or something. And so that kind of gave me goosebumps as well, because we kind of forget the scope of history. And it was a shitload of planes that went over my head in this particular scene here. What do you think of that scene, Alex?
Yeah, it really drills it home, doesn't it? I mean, it goes on for ages, just these World War II planes just flying over you, and it's just that's basically all the planes that got shot down during World War II, and it goes on and on and on, and just the sky's just full of them. So it's really a good way of VR is really good at this sort of stuff, just illustrating things and really drilling. I'm going to talk about one in a bit as well, which is like a World War II thing, and it's really, really good for the immersion, just making you feel more of an emotional connection rather than you. If you just watched that on a flat screen, you just wouldn't feel the same as when you're stood there on the runway watching, hundreds and hundreds of planes fly over and knowing that all those pilots died effectively during the World War II. So But yeah, I think we don't want to spoil too much because there is obviously we're pretty much playing the full thing here. So we'll move on to Wes. What was your first recommendation?
Uh, the first one I want to talk about is a short film called The Bond. And basically, this is an animated short film that it's based on the idea that it's a common idea in Eastern religions as well as some New Age spiritualism. I'm talking about the idea that all living beings are connected. The idea is that there is some level of existence, some other plane just above our sensory perception that we're all connected to and we're all one. And so basically what this short film does is it follows a shaman, and it opens up in this forest as you can see on the trailer there. And the shaman and his hoofed friend come, and the shaman obviously is in touch with this other sense, with this connection to other living things. So he sits down in the middle of the forest and he begins to explore. And you can see this field, we'll call it, represented by strings, a bunch of little yellow strings going into his hands as he searches through the ether. And occasionally you'll see a red one. And I think what the red ones are meant to symbolize is some sort of turmoil, some kind of upheaval, maybe panic, maybe excitement. So what he does when he encounters one of the red strings is he has the ability to see through the eyes of all these living things. He is, after all, a shaman. So as he connects to whatever living being that he's trying to connect to, it takes you, the user in the VR headset, into a first-person mode. So all of a sudden you become this animal, whatever it is that he's connecting to, and there are different ones. There's forest creatures. At one point you're like a crab or an insect of some sort. There's another part where you're like this flying animal, and that was the coolest part of the whole thing for me, is when you're flying over this, I don't know, it's an alien world. It's hard to explain the landscapes, but as far as the experience itself goes, it very, very high production value, colorful as it can be, well suited for my new Oculus Rift S, which I did go back in it and try it in the S, and it's absolutely stunning. This sort of colorful, bright scene is tailor-made for that LCD screen. It really, really pops. But audio visually, top-notch, high-level stuff. It's about 6 or 7 minutes long. It's not the longest thing in the world, but very, very high quality, and definitely a recommend for me. Alex, have you tried this one?
Yeah, I tried it. You go deep on these things. I didn't really think about it as some sort of meaning or any sort of deeper thing to it. It was, for me, it was just, okay, I'm a shaman, I'm taking possession of these animals, the end sort of thing. So you really like to think about these things. But yeah, it's cool. I liked it. I mean, it's definitely reminiscent of Avatar in the world. The way it feels. It makes, because it's really, really good looking. Like the graphics are really high end. It does feel like you're in sort of the Avatar film, and it makes you want to be in that world more, as a VR game. But a couple of things I will say is that it's probably not good for people who get motion sick, because there's some pretty fast movement. And yeah, the bird at the end is the best part. When you look and you can see your wings. If you look too closely, you can see that you've basically just got wings, and you kind of like, you can see the seams, cracking the seams. But if you just focus and just look like kind of over your shoulder sort of thing, you can see the wings flapping and you're flying and you can see the world. And it really, really good. I don't know who makes these and like where they get the money from for them, because they're free, but really high quality. And I'd love to see more of this sort of thing.
Absolutely.
I think it's Oculus exclusive, right? Or is it not?
Yeah, I think most of these are. I think a lot of them are funded by Oculus.
Yeah,
so just be aware of that.
as much as we hate Facebook, you know, Oculus really is doing a lot for pushing, you know, the high end experiences in games for sure.
Yeah, content. I think for all their faults, we would be a lot worse off content wise on PCVR if it weren't for Facebook and Oculus.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you know, I guess I'll just go give you my impressions real quick. You know, it's this game, our experience seemed really bizarre to me. Like, it was really cool, but it was just so bizarre. I mean, I guess looking at it from your breakdown, Wes, it definitely makes more sense, and it makes me want to go check it out from that, looking at it from that standpoint. I just remember watching it and thinking, wow, this is cool, and thinking, what the fuck is going on? Because it just kept going from thing to thing, but now it makes sense from like everything being connected. So I'm glad you did go into that depth, because like Alex said, I just went in and checked it out and didn't even really think too much about it. But I guess that's why you picked this one, because it kind of, you know, spoke to you on that level a little bit. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of have an analytical mind. This is the way I look at everything, is try to, if I'm in a game or an experience, everything, I'm always trying to think about what's happening here and really understand it. I don't know. I'm just a bit weird like that, I guess. But
No, you're deep. You're a deep person, so that's good. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I'm like a new age Jack Handy.
That's right.
Yeah, definitely. I highly recommend this one. It's really quick and it's free.
Yeah.
So can't be free, right?
That's right.
No. Okay, we'll move on to my first one then, which is, I think, like with Wes, I've picked mine based on like an emotional connection, really. The first one I'm going to pick is Berlin Blitz, which is a free little short film made by the BBC, which is a thing over in the UK, but they fund actually quite a few little VR things, and this is made by, I think it's Immersive Education. I can't remember the name of the company, but they made the Apollo 11 experience and the Everest. I think it was the Everest experience as well. So they've got some background, or it was the Titanic VR, I think, as well. And yeah, this is the thing about this is it's very passive. You don't really do anything. You kind of just sat in this Lancaster bomber, like they've reimagined a bombing run over Berlin, and the thing that really made it for me was just the audio is actually real audio. Apparently they sent up a reporter on this bombing run, and he recorded the entire thing, and he was giving that commentary about what was happening, and you've got this old sort of English voice that you can hear him talking, and you know, just trying to describe the scenes, but as he's describing it, they've recreated it in VR, so you're seeing the scenes in a 3D space, and it's really good. Just for the fact that, you know, it happened, the recording, the audio was real. There's some text that pops up which tells you some information, you know, which it really struck home for me a little bit. I don't know if it's because I'm over this side, and we obviously were affected by it more, but it's definitely something that I felt emotionally, and I got a little bit teared up towards the end. So, Ruuts, I know you've tried this one. I don't think you were quite as emotionally driven by it.
No, and you probably nailed it, just because it was, you know, more towards your immediate history, even though, you know, I mean, we're all connected and we all went through it to some extent. This country didn't go through nearly the chaos that yours did, so I can imagine. The biggest thing about this for me was the restriction that I didn't care for, and just in certain areas, I felt like I really wanted to move more, but you know, that's just me wanting a little bit more of it. But I think you nailed it. Like, even though I wasn't as emotionally invested, they did do a really good job of making you feel like you were looking at what was going on. And it is a part of history that we should all, you know, as people went through things that, you know, I can't even imagine flying over an area knowing that you were specifically doing that, hoping that they would shoot at you so you knew where to drop the bomb. Like that's the thing. They're shooting there. You're getting when you see the flak, that's where you drop the bombs at. So it took a special type of generation to go through that, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was just
So.
it was just real. I mean, that happened. You're sat in this little plane flying over Germany. There's an actual plane that gets shot down next to you. I mean, I've got these really big headphones which have got like this bass thing on the side, so I cranked the bass up and you could feel the explosions and things as they were going around. And yeah, it was just really immersive, and just the fact that it actually happened, it was real, and this was happening, countless times. Them going on these bombing runs, and most of them didn't make it back. So it was just, for me, it kind of emotionally teared me up a little bit.
Yeah, I can't imagine going through it. That's crazy.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move back on to. In fact, Ruuts, I want to save your next one till last, because obviously we're going to do some spoilers at the end. But Wes, we'll skip over to you next. What was your second short film?
All right. The second one I want to talk about is actually in a similar vein of the first one, and it's titled Crow the Legend. Not to be confused with The Crow, although I think that would make a cool short film in VR if they did something with the crow. But now this one is called Crow the Legend. It's another animated short film, but it's considerably longer than the Bond. I think this one's around 20 minutes long. Yeah, it's based on Native American mythology, and basically it tells the story of the origins of fire, how the Native Americans, I guess, represented by animals in this, but it's a Native American tale. It's how we first discovered fire, and how the crow, the bird crow, became black, where it got its color. And this is probably one of the more, if not the most, high production values in one of these short films that I've seen. It has a star-studded cast. The lead character is played by John Legend, and it does have musical parts to it, so he is singing in this as well. And Oprah's in it, and there was a few others that I can't recall right now, but star-studded cast. Probably not as visually stunning as the Bond, but it looks very, very good. It's a more cartoony. It has more of a Pixar animated film feel to it when you're in this world. But the sound, the audio in this thing is top notch. It's better than the Bond. And the voice acting is just awesome. So basically, you start and you're in the forest, and you, the viewer, are playing the role of the spirit of the seasons. So what you're doing is you're bringing about each season. You can see here in the picture, I'm bringing about springtime or summer, and I'm making all of the flowers bloom and the grass grow. So that's the role you're playing. This is a somewhat interactive experience. You're not just a spectator. You do have some interaction with the environments. And when you're in the forest, you can actually change your perspective and move around a little bit too. Not much, but if you do push on your thumbsticks, you can shift forwards, backwards, to the sides a little bit. But basically, it spends a few minutes getting you familiar with the world, familiar with the characters. Crow, like I said, being the main character, he seems to be somewhat proud and beautiful. He's not black at this point. He has colorful feathers like a toucan or some kind of rainforest bird. But after you become familiar with the characters and become familiar with your role in the story, you bring about winter. And the animals, the characters, they've never experienced winter before. So you take use your ability and bring about snowfall. Everything gets cold, and the story, I'm not going to spoil here, is the story of how the lead character, Crow, discovers fire to bring heat to the world so that they can survive the winter. And all in all, I think it was a very well done. I think it's very obviously based on Native American mythology, even though they have done it and put this modern flavor on it. It seems like the type of story that would be told around a campfire, a few hundred years ago. But yeah, very well done, and like I said, one of the longer experiences and enjoyable as well. So I recommend very much so. I don't know what to say. It's very very well done. Roots. I think you tried The Crow, didn't you? What did you think about it?
Yeah, I really liked it. I liked it so much. I even put my 17-year-old daughter into it, and she's kind of like a VR snob in a sense that she doesn't want to play a lot of stuff, and she really enjoyed it as well. And I think you nailed it with the Pixar feel. It just it almost feels like you're again in an interactive short story, and you get to play a part and you're doing stuff. I was really impressed with just the whole story overall as it developed, and it brought all the characters in, and you had the skunk and the butterfly and the humor of it, and it just I think it was done very well. And I will note that this is, believe this is the one that we were talking about earlier that you can play on the PlayStation VR, but you cannot, it doesn't have the interaction, I believe. And I'm not sure on that, but I know that people have said it's not as good as...
I think it's just a 360 video.
Yeah.
I don't think they've got the power to be able to render it in the headset. So you can do it on the go, you can do it on the PSVR, but it's not as good because it's just a 360 video. I've heard some people weren't very impressed with it on those platforms, but in PC VR, it's all rendered in actual VR. You can move your head forward, backwards, and you can interact. So like you've both said, it's very Pixar. It's like you're in a Pixar movie. There's some stuff later on where they play with scale and stuff, and yeah, it's a really good. I can't remember. I think it's about 25 minutes long, maybe something like that. So it's a reasonable length. And yeah, the voice acting is all top notch. There's some singing in there, which obviously John Legend has got an amazing voice, so I didn't mind that too much. And yeah, I just thought it was really cool. I just sat there and I just watched it, and I enjoyed it. It's definitely something you could put a kid in, and or a young adult, or however you want to term it, but they'd love it. So yeah, anyone else got anything to say on that before we move on? No? Okay, we'll move on to my second pick, which is a Google Spotlight story called Age of Sail. Google have done, I think, three or four of these, and this was definitely by far my favorite. The thing about this is that it's again, it's a very passive experience where you just sit and just watch everything play out. But it's actually all done made in VR, so it's made in Tilt Brush, animated in Tilt Brush. So just looking at it and just knowing that this whole thing was played out, obviously someone was in there drawing, animating everything, and it's got that kind of art style where as you're this guy's doing as you're watching it, it kind of looks like a drawing almost that's moving and being animated. So it's kind of, did you ever see that film? What was that Snowman film? The old one where the snowman comes to life. It's probably called The Snowman, and just the way that it was all drawn, and you could tell it was all hand drawn and everything. And this got that feel to it. Got a really good sense of scale. You're in the ocean on this little boat. You've got this ship that comes past you. Later on, the storm comes in. There's big waves crashing. It's quite intimidating, actually. Just that feeling of being on this boat in the middle of the ocean and seeing the waves come crashing over, and the size of the waves. And we need to cut this video off at some point because I don't want to spoil what happens in it. But yeah, I'll pass it over to you, Roots. I don't think this one made me really tear up. Second time I did it, and it still made me tear up. I don't know why. It just really got to me, which I don't want to spoil because obviously that's part of the the reveal of the story. But yeah, I don't think it really bothered you as much, did it, Ruth?
It did a little bit, but I mean, it maybe because it was animated like this, and I don't know, and I guess that was more in the context compared to another one. It definitely has heartstrings feel to it, and it's very well done. And especially if you're looking at it from an artistic standpoint, which I usually try to, because I think this is artwork. And I when I see an experience like this, and the time that it probably took the person to make it just blows me away because I'm not artistic at all. So I really do appreciate when somebody has something cool like this, and it just conveys and can elicit your feelings, like you said. It really says a lot for it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't think. Wes, you tried this one, have you?
I'm curious. No, I didn't try it, but I am curious about how long is this experience?
Oh, it's just like 5 minutes. Just a
Short one.
short. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's the out of the Google Spotlight stories, it's the one that I like the most. Uh, Really cool, cool. There's just being on the ocean and everything, it didn't really. I don't think it'd make people sick because they keep the boat. You're on the boat, the sea, the sea's kind of moving, but your boat's not. As the boat's rocking, you're kind of level with the horizon. So I think they've done that to stop you from getting motion sick. So I don't think people should get motion sick with this one, but yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. We'll move on from that because I don't want to spoil it with the video. But yeah, let's go to the last one, which is obviously Roots.
Okay.
Your last pick.
Okay. Yeah, so my last pick was we just talked about it recently, actually. Just came out a few weeks ago, Wolves in the Wall. It's free on Oculus Store, another Oculus exclusive, made by Virtual Beings Studios, which was formerly known as Fable Studios. And the creator, Neil Gaiman. Actually, I did a lot of research in here, and I was really interested to find out this came out in 2003 as like a regular book, and it went on a tour of being on off Broadway, and like it's actually made its way through a lot of steps, and every step has been critically acclaimed, which is just amazing. But when it all leads to what's going on last year, where it was released at the Sundance Festival. Now this is 3 parts actually. Currently, Chapter 2 is being viewed at the. Yeah, let me get the video up here. That might help. I guess I clicked off of it. But yeah, so it's being viewed at the Tribeca Film Festival right now, actually this weekend. And second chapter is supposed to have a lot more AI in it, so get ready for it. It's supposed to be a lot more interactive. Lucy's supposed to remember your interactions. She subtly reads our intentions, and so that's kind of exciting as well. But yeah, so what I liked about this one, and I said it before, it's the way that it includes you in the story, even from the beginning where she draws you as her imaginary friend. And it just made me feel like I was her imaginary friend, and it did draw me in and make me feel some emotions for her. And so she's hearing noises, and the whole thing is her whole family is not. I guess they're pretty fed up. They're not entertaining her stories anymore, and they just consistently, every time she brings it up, they're pretty much slamming her down. They keep telling her that there's no wolves in the wall. Everybody knows when the wolves come out, it's all over. And so that it just keeps leaving that on an end. But this, I would definitely recommend seeing this. But I know, Alex, you checked this out. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I was really impressed with this. As a technical achievement, this is probably my favorite. I think Age of Sail is my favorite overall, just emotionally. But this one, just from a technical standpoint of what they achieve, the interactive nature of it, just the visuals, the 3D, it's really well done, really well done. It's like every time these guys make a new one of these little videos, they get better and better, and it just makes me. We're at the infancy of this sort of stuff, and when VR is more mainstream, and they can start charging for this sort of stuff, I think we're going to see something absolutely incredible, interactive stories. Like, just think about a children's book that's like this, that a children's book that comes alive, and the child's in the book and everything's happening around them and things, and maybe even just go for more adults orientated stuff where it's a darker theme and stuff. So there's so many possibilities with this sort of thing. It is really a new medium. I think that's one of the reasons why we chose it this week, just to get away from games a little bit, because there's more to VR than just games, and this definitely showed me more than any of the others, just in terms of how far we can take it. I mean, we can take it so far in the future of what we can achieve with this sort of thing, just with the interactivity, with the relationship you can build with characters. Yeah, we'll go into some spoilers in a second, but Wes, I'll pass it to you just to give your thoughts on what you think, and then we'll go to spoilers and finish this up.
Yeah, I said it before, and I'll say it again. This is easily the best one of these VR short film experiences that I've tried. Best overall, and it's just great in every way. Not only are the production values there, but the story is really, really touching, and the interactivity is outstanding in it. The way that they bring you into the story, the bit toward the end I thought was really cool, just from a personal taste, perspective. It was fun, but in general, with these short films and experiences, they're, even though a lot of them are short, this one isn't. This one's fairly long, but there's so many of them out there. The way I would recommend that viewing them, because who wants to go through the trouble of putting on their headset and getting ready just for a 5-minute experience? You should line up 3, 4, or 5 of them. Do a few of the short ones, in a row, and then end it off with one of these long ones, like Wolves in the Wall or the Crow. One of the longer ones at the end, and I think you'll find the experience very rewarding, especially if you do your homework and choose good ones like the ones that we're talking about here today. But yeah, as far as this one goes specifically, the lead character, the little girl Lucy, you become connected with her immediately. She's a very likable character, and the voice acting is very well done. And I don't want to repeat too much of what we said last time we covered it, but by far this one is the best one. If you own a VR headset and you haven't tried this one yet, I think you should do it, and I think you should do it today.
Yeah, I agree. I think this game, our experience, I guess, almost feels like a game because there's so much interactivity, right? But it just blew me away, and it was this. Now a question, Wes. I know it's a little bit darker theme as far as the wolves, but did any of your kids try it, or are they old enough, do you think, to try it, or?
They haven't tried it yet. They don't get in here and do the PC VR a whole lot, and I mean, I guess they are a little bit more now since we have the Rift S, and it's easier for them to put it on. But no, they haven't yet. But I don't think I would have any problems showing this to them. It just depends on your individual child. Some may be disturbed by it, but it's not graphic or anything. Nothing terrible happens. I think that the heavy, dark part of this is kind of an underlying thing that we as adults pick up on, but I think it may fly right over the head of children. They're just going to be scared of the wolves that are in the wall. You know what I mean? They're not going to really understand what's happening here and why it's so disturbing.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to some spoilers, because this video is starting to get into showing too much of the gameplay. So if you've not tried it, we recommend trying that now. We're going to go into some spoilers. We've been trying to talk about some spoilers on this for a while. Go on. Sorry.
I was just going to say, if Ruuts wants to just start the footage over so that we can't spoil it for people. Sure. Yeah. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. All these are worth your time, in my opinion. I think that Wes, I think you should probably check out the other ones that we've said as well at some point. It's definitely worth having a look at them. They're all pretty short. I think the ones you haven't tried, just like you're going to be able to go through them in like 20 minutes. So, but yeah, they're all worth checking out. They're all free. Some of them are only Oculus only, but I'm sure you can use Revive probably to use them if you haven't got an Oculus headset. But yeah, it's definitely worth checking them out. And we're going to go to spoilers now on Wolves in the Walls. We'll probably spend another 5-10 minutes on that, and then we'll end the video. So if you're ending now, thank you for checking this out. If you want to subscribe, hit the like button, do all those things. Check out our Discord. We've got a nice little community that's building up, and we talk about things in there, mainly game orientated, but sometimes hardware as well. And yeah, just thank you for checking out our video.
Thanks.
Okay, so let's get into some spoiler talk now. Ruuts, I know you had some theories on this, so I'd be interested to hear what your theories are on the story and why things happened the way they did.
Well, like when we were talking on the last week, I've done a lot of research since then. My initial thought was that they were, just kind of alluding towards the end of the actual story. When the story ends, the wolves come out and then it's over. But it's a 3-part series, and I know in the second one, she hears elephants in the wall and tries to tell her parents. Okay. So to be honest, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I'm really curious now to watch the second one. Like I
thought it was going to be like the story was going to continue, but I didn't realize they were just going to keep retelling the same story with different animals. So that's
it's like it continues on. Like it's like I think, in my opinion, I think it's all about her being neglected by her family. She's got a very, very vivid imagination, and so she is hearing noises in the walls. And I'm torn between it being rats, which I think it is rats, and maybe some kind of pipes or something that are groaning in the wall or making weird noises. But because things are disappearing. At least to me, I was making jam, and it kept taking those jars away from me, and it was something was going on.
I think it's all in her mind, basically. It's like you're her imaginary friend, and she's like playing out these little stories in her mind, and she's just annoying the shit out of her parents, and they're getting annoyed with her. But obviously, it's just the way they ended it. Obviously, where the wolves came out. Yeah, it is a bit of a weird ending, and it's difficult to know exactly what's happening because you always feel like it's in her mind, and there's some really cool things in this. I think we should. In fact, Wes, do you want to say anything about the story before we move on to any sort of particular highlights of the actual experience?
Yeah, I was, I definitely thought about it a lot when I was in there trying to figure it out, and it is difficult to get a read on exactly what the meaning is here. But my early theory on it, and of course it's going to evolve as we get the rest of the story, I think the wolves are symbolic. I think it's a coping mechanism for her. She's neglected. There's a lot of turmoil and strife in her family. But you'll notice, if I recall correctly, every time she hears these wolves in the wall, she's also hearing maybe an argument or someone talk and say something negative. There's always something there that she's going to be wanting to dissociate from and ignore so that she can cope with it. So I think that the wolves are just a way of her being able to handle reality by not hearing it, intentionally not hearing what's going on within her own household. That was my theory on it. The only part that doesn't make sense to me, if that's the case, is why her family would refer to it. If the wolves in the wall are her own personal coping mechanism, why would everyone say, when the wolves come out of the walls, it's all over?
They might be, like they said it was what the grandmother used to say that or something. So maybe like Lucy said that so many times that they're like, that's the way that they get her to stop. They're just like, remember, Lucy, when the wolves come out, it's all over. Like, just shut up. Stop telling us this.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe the dissociative personality is a character trait in her family. Maybe that's the way her grandmother dealt with her problems as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'll have a more definitive answer when we get the whole story. But right now, that's my operating theory: is that the wolves are some kind of a coping mechanism.
Yeah, I think it's definitely imaginary. For me, it was just the imaginary side of things. So it was difficult because the way this plays out with the way that it constantly keeps changing the room around, and when she walks behind something, then all of a sudden she's crawling out from underneath a table. It definitely didn't feel like it was real and it was actually happening. It just definitely felt like it was kind of fantasy and in a imagination. So, and that was a really cool aspect to this actually, the way that I watched it again for the second time, and I really noticed the way they did that a lot. Like when the dad's up on the stage and he's doing his practice, and then she keeps walking around things, and every time you naturally follow her. So as you go past, and then there's a block there, then he gets closer, and then you follow her again, and then he gets closer. And the way that they did that was really clever. And obviously that's not something easy to do because you can't always tell where someone's looking. So they must have some sort of something in there that knows when you've looked past that certain point to then change the scene. Yeah, it's really impressive technically from what they've achieved with this. And is there any, Ruuts, so I'll start with you. Is there any standout moments that you really wowed you in this?
Just I was wowed from the beginning of the thing, but I guess if I was going to specify a specific moment, I just when I like in the beginning when when she's talking to you and she's like, hey, come down here, like I legitimately kneeled down and was down there and like for a little bit of time I forgot what I was doing and I was invested in it and I was the imaginary friend. And for that to be able to take me out of the fact that I'm in an experience, it just everything about this, it's so artistic. And again, like I was saying before, to see something that so many people put so much time into and watch it all come together. And then finding out that, this was written as a book 16 years ago and the steps that it took to get where it's at. The only thing that depressed me, and I was just thinking about that while one of you were talking about finding out what I did find out is, this version came out a year ago and the second one came out this week. So I got to wait another year probably till I get to see the second thing. And that sucks, man. I want to go to the Tribeca Film Festival today and watch this shit, So,
They might bring him out quicker.
I hope so.
We don't know, but
Yeah.
because it's in like early access. I don't know what that means with this because I can't quite work it out, but I'm guessing they're going to release the other chapters. Maybe they're going to charge for them. I don't know, but I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes. And it'd be cool to play it when they're all out to play through the whole thing again, and watch it from start to finish. But yeah, for me, I did exactly the same as you, Roots, where she was drawing the little thing and everything came down. I was literally crouched down. I was watching it, and then when you've got the glass and you're listening to the wall, I'm on my knees next to the wall, and you can hear the mice. So that's where I think your theory about it actually being mice is true. And you can hear Mum like saying now it's getting out of hand with her imagination and stuff.
And
So
that's where,
they do give you hints that it's not real and they're not actually wolves and that it is actually
and I'm
something
I'm
else,
getting
as you say.
goosebumps, just thinking about it. That's exactly what you were saying comes into play. Like it is all about the, her, what's going on in her life and her family. And I think it is a coping mechanism that she's hearing these things to distract her from the things that she doesn't want to deal with. And I don't know about you, but I wanted to punch her brother in the face, cause he's an asshole, but,
Well, he's a kid. Yeah, he is kind of a jerk, brother, but that's kind of a common thing. I get it. He doesn't want his little sister around, but I think if maybe the parents gave them both a little more attention, maybe the little brother wouldn't be such a jerk.
Right. Yeah.
But,
Because they're totally doing their
That
thing, right? And ignoring them.
the that part was really cool as well, where you're in the right, you end up in virtual reality, and then she pulls the headset off, and then because you don't, it's like the way that they blend in, and then all of a sudden she's pulling the headset off, and you see the headset, and you see her, and
It's
the way that pulls you out,
it was
it
jarring,
kind of
right?
reminded me of that feeling you get. Yeah, it was that feeling you get when you do come out of virtual reality in real life. You know, you're in a game one minute, and then the next minute you're in the real world. With this, you're within a game, and then you come out back into the world of the games. It was really clever the way they did it, and yeah, just really immersive, very well done, and just the amount of interaction with like drawing on the walls and things, and yeah. Anyone else got anything they want to say on that?
no, just that it's awesome, and even talking about it right now makes me want to go into it again.
Same
So,
here.
yeah, I can't recommend it enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
do it,
Yeah. If you're not,
do it. Which I imagine anybody that's watching still has probably already done it. So,
Yeah, I mean it's free for God's sake,
hmm
so
yeah,
there's no reason not to check this out unless you haven't got an Oculus and you don't want Revive and all that shit. But if you've got an Oculus or if you don't mind using Revive and hopefully it'll work with Revive, then it's definitely worth jumping in and trying out. Well, yeah, we'll leave it there. We've been going for how long? We've been going for 45
hmm
minutes, which is we can never do these for short little videos. But yeah, we'll leave it there. So thank you for tuning in.
Yeah.
I'm sure anyone who's listening now is like the more hardcore, dedicated people who are following us. So thank you for sticking around and any suggestions for future content, let us know.
Yep. Perfect. All right. So we'll see you
Okay,
next time.
later. Bye.
thanks for watching.